point that out to people. Like, look, man, say what you want to say about Glenn Beck, but he's been right, for 10, 15 years, and he gets mocked and ridiculed at the time that he says it, but nobody ever offers a retraction or an apology when what he says actually comes to a fruition. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that Glenn Beck always encourages his listeners to do is do your own homework, which guys like you and me do. And the people who listen to this show, we do our own homework. So we know that Glenn Beck has been right. But man, people tend to get too big for their britches. And I think Glenn Beck is kind of gotten to a point where he's a little too self-important, and he's let this personal feud with him and Trump cloud his judgment. I mean, he's bagging on Donald Trump endlessly, and he did the thing that's like it's unforgivable to me. The one thing that we can't stand anymore about Fox and about CNN and MSNBC is the way they present statistics to promote a narrative, even if it's essentially a lie. Mm-hmm. And, I would sit there and listen to Glenn Beck, and I'd go, oh, my gosh, so Donald Trump's not winning in the polls anymore. It must be Ted Cruz. And then I go look, and I go, oh, no, Donald Trump is still winning. But the way that Glenn Beck would present his information, it made it appear as if Trump was losing in the polls. And that, to me, was just – that's something I expect from the left and from the establishment Republican side. I did not expect that from the grassroots conservative. And, as far as I'm concerned, Glenn Beck is off his rocker with this feud with Donald Trump and referring us to brown shirts. My wife is a Donald Trump supporter, dyed in the wool. Mm-hmm. And for him to call her a brown shirt, that's unforgivable.
You know what gets me? I think Dana Loesch is following suit too. Dana Loesch, who is actually an employee of Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck, yep.
She calls Ben Carson the devil.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
How do you call Dr. Ben? He's the most lovable guy. He calls him the devil. I mean,
and it's like I want to get out of this campaign season. Honestly, I just want to get our guy, which looks like it's going to be Trump, and I want to just go hardcore against the left. That's where the real enemy is. Mm-hmm. I want to have a discussion about the Constitution and why it's so important. I want to talk about why the Second Amendment was so important that they listed it number 2. I want to talk about why these attempts to limit free speech are so important. I want to talk about why profligate spending is destroying this country. I want to talk about why socializing our healthcare system has already destroyed healthcare. I mean, I hate to tell you, Chris, but even if they overturn Obamacare tomorrow, it's going to be, a decade before we can get things back on track. They've already been successful in destroying it. I'm tired of these talking about global warming and these faux wars on women and, all of these fake issues that the left constantly, the social justice thing, which is killing me. I mean, look, I've lived on this planet 50 years now. I've been around the horn. And let me tell you something. Racism exists out there, but it is not in our DNA. There is nothing holding anybody back in this country. And if anybody is being held back, it's everybody for a million different reasons. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to be successful at something and you work hard and you put your mind to it, you can be anything, do anything you want in this country, no matter what race, color, or creed that you are. Are you going to come across some knuckleheads along the way? Yes, but it's not who we are, and I'm just sick and tired of it.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm exhausted, actually. You're listening to New Media Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Chris, and on the Rebooting Liberty Hotline, I have Dr. Scott. Again, following on with Marco Rubio, look what's happening. Look what happened at Disney. You had a bunch of foreign workers who replaced the Disney workers, and actually the Disney workers had to train. It wasn't because they were highly trained or experienced. They were cheaper labor, basically, and they were replaced via the H-1B visa, which I want repealed. Why should we have over 95 million people out of the workforce? Why should we import any workers? I mean, it's unfathomable to me. But anyway, let's move on to Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is going to be huge. I mean, You have over 1,000 delegates at play here. And you have Marco Rubio also stating that he was illustrating a path to a broker convention. If you don't know what a broker convention is, I suggest you research it. But basically, it's basically everybody sharing. You're going to have the establishment sharing their delegates to try to beat Trump, which is what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, my biggest fear is I can be full-throated support for Donald Trump. I can be full-throated support for Ted Cruz. What would absolutely kill me is Marco Rubio, drawing the inside straight like John McCain and going to this brokered convention. And that's going to be where my eyes are. I cannot conceive of a situation where either Ted or Donald don't acquire enough delegates to win the nomination, and we go to a brokered convention. And I think a lot of people are looking at that and may, just throw in for Donald just to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's I hope it doesn't happen, but I think that it's at this point it's going to be. We'll find out more on Super, after Super Tuesday. But basically, you have I believe it's 11 states, and 2 of them are caucus states, and I believe the caucus states are I think it's Minnesota and Colorado. And the 9 orders, the other 9 are primary states, and I believe they're all proportional, so they're not all winner take all. I believe that comes later in March, where you have the winner take all states like Florida.
It's the other thing that always seems to confound things is the crossover voters. Those states where Democrats can come over and vote
that's
in the
what happened in South Carolina.
Exactly, and it happens every time. And it seems to me that the one thing that the left does is promote the one candidate that we conservatives don't want, so that they know that no matter what happens come general election, they win.
Right.
And I'm sick of that.
Well, this is the thing. You have the Democrats who have the super delegates to get their establishment in, and then you have the GOP who use their own tactics to try to keep in as many as the establishment in the race as possible, so that you go to the convention without giving Donald Trump that 51% threshold that he would need to not have a brokered convention, which is why it's very important for him to win some of these winner take all states.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be quite interesting, Doc. And if that happens, I may have to call you for some medication.
Well, you got my number, bro. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to call you.
That's kind of the one thing I remember after the last one when Obama won re-election in 2012, and I got up on my Twitter feed the next morning, and everybody was like throwing in the towel. And I hear people now saying, if it doesn't turn out the way I want, I quit. And the one thing I would say is you never get to quit, man. You and me, we both got small kids, and I'm determined to leave the best possible world behind for them. And, no matter what happens, we're going to stay in this fight. But let's get somebody in there who can actually move the needle in a conservative direction. And, the establishment candidates, the Kasichs, the Rubios, these guys are just going to continue with the massive spending, continue with the crony capitalist arrangements, and get us nowhere.
Well, like I mentioned in my show's opening, I said this is not this is not the conservative. This is why I hate when people say I'm not a conservative. This is not the conservative I remember growing up. This is all about globalism. This is all about opening our borders. This is all about creating one nation in the world. One international country in the world where that you're going to have one unifying, power, that's going to be in control of us. And it's, the new world order. And this is what I don't want. This is not the conservatism I want. And yes, Ted Cruz is a conservative, but they all, even the most conservative people in Congress and in the Senate have been complicit in the state in the state that America is in right now. They all have had their hands in it. They all have been complicit.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's absolutely right. And the ones that are pure are, the Louis Gohmerts. They get ostracized and put in the corner,
It's going to be an exciting race, going down the wire. But like you said, I'm looking forward to going against that other side, because it's going to be quite hysterical. because, like I said, there is so much dirt on that other side that, our side that we haven't been paying attention to because we're so, we're still battling against each other, it seems like. And again, it's dirty. It's dirty. I mean, it's been dirty on our side. It hasn't, it hasn't been as dirty on the other side because you only have two candidates running. Here, I mean, you have the establishment. You have the establishment who want to knock Trump out no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I was really wanting to see was Ted Cruz is a master debater, and he really understands a constitutional Republican system of government. And I really want to hear somebody who can articulate the conservative position against either Hillary or Bernie Sanders so that, people who truly want to learn, want to know something can see just how ridiculous, the liberal position is.
Yeah. We have to do a show on, what? We just got to get off. We got to get off attacking each other. We got to get off this thing, and we just got to go. We got to spend a good 5 shows on Hillary and Bernie Sanders, and just.
Oh my God.
We should. I'll tell you what. Next show, it's going to be all about Hillary and all her scandals because This is what I said in a previous show. I said I don't mind attacking our candidates because I know no matter who we put up there, there's no way a criminal and a socialist is going to be able to beat us. I mean, just look at the turnouts. Look at the Democratic turnouts. They've been so low. Nobody's turning out. And then look at the Republican side. I mean, we've had record turnouts.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the grassroots on our side is absolutely motivated, and I think we're absolutely furious that we can see that the establishment is trying to force their candidate down our throat again. And I think we're doing everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen. They're doing everything they can to make sure it does happen. And then on the liberal side, I mean, there's nobody who supports Hillary. They may be against a Republican, but they do not support Hillary. And I think once we get down to the general election and Hillary actually has to defend a non-existent record and a history of just utter corruption. The other thing I'm looking forward to is, are we actually going to talk about Bill Clinton's sexual predatory history like we didn't do in the 90s? I mean, that used to blow me away when I was a younger man, that like, man, how does this guy get away with this stuff? And it looks like maybe America is ready to talk about that. And
we should be talking about it, which is why I want to dedicate a couple of shows on that, because you have a lot of millennials who are not being taught, who are not being taught this in any school books. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that we get it out there so they know who the Clintons truly are.
Yes, I agree.
And here you have Bernie Sanders, who didn't have a job till he was 40, a paying job till he was 40, who wants to be president now. Come on, give me a break. He wants to make United States into Denmark. In Denmark you have kids going to school just taking up crap because they get the school paid for, and yet they don't want to. They need engineers out there, but these kids don't want to go through college to become an engineer because it's too much work. And they say to themselves, why should I go through all that and get taxed at 90% when I go out to the workforce? Yeah,
what we need to do is a show on Scandinavia. I am sick and tired of this. Scandinavia is so awesome. Yeah. It is not. Yeah. If you go over there, their hotel, you go stay in a hotel over there, a 5-star hotel that's not as nice as a Best Western in this country, and it costs 10 times more than the Ritz-Carlton. I mean, your opportunity to be, to go and grow a business over there is absolutely hindered by their massive taxation, their absolute limitation on freedom. I mean, those places are terrible. I mean, I used to tell my wife when we got older and I started traveling to Europe and things, and the first thing I noted was like, wow, every country other than the United States is a third world country. Yeah. We have so much in this country, so much opportunity, so much wealth.
Exactly.
We just have so much going on, and it's because of our creed, and it's based on the individual. Yeah. This country is predicated on the rights of the individual, free market capitalism, and constitutional republicanism. And that is worth preserving. And that's why we don't want to shut our borders down because we hate anybody else. It's because we love what we have. And trying to preserve that is not a bad thing. We are the light. Look, Everybody's trying to get into this country, and it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are here seem to be wanting to vote away the very things that made this country great.
Exactly. Well, I said this in my last show. We're the last bastion of freedom. So it's like Reagan said, once freedom